Hi, and welcome to another live. We are here. It's our first February that we're having a live. I want you to know that at the end of this live, what you're going to be walking away with is how to communicate better with your partner, how to approach situations depending on the attachment style. Every human being is not the same, and a lot of times what we feel is that the way we feel or the way we think or the way we act is the way the other person should be feeling and acting as well. And we want to stop that because a lot of times we end up in a lot of pain. We are asking ourselves, why can't they fight harder for me? Why can't they do a little bit more? Why can't they put in more effort? Because we know we're capable of it, or we believe that we're capable of it. What we have to be able to do is understand the attachment style of the other person so well that we know that they may just not be capable of doing the same things we believe we're capable of. And why I keep saying that we believe we're capable of is because we're not sure of what we can actually do, what we might be willing or unwilling to do until we are put in the exact situation. So by the end of today's live, you're going to be walking away with a deeper understanding of your avoidant attached partner or ex-partner's emotions, and as well as your own if you've got an anxious attachment style and you're moving towards being more secure attached. I'm really sorry about the tissue. What happens in New York when it's cold is that we come into the warm and we go through a defrost. So I'm going through my defrost right now, so it gets a little sweaty. All right, let's jump into your questions. If you're joining me now, thanks for joining me. Thank you for your support. Thank you for your questions. I'm going to try to get through as many of them as I possibly can. It's always great to know where you're coming in from, where you're signing in from. And as well as we just asked a question on Instagram, how would you feel if you know that your avoidant ex-partner or your ex-partner is moving on? How does that make you feel? To add to that for your own healing, you want to ask yourself, why do I feel this way? Why do I still feel this way? Why am I afraid? Why am I scared? Why do I get anxious in thinking that my ex might be moving on? A lot of people ask, what do I do to let go of someone? When you want to let go of someone, you want to write a list of all the things that you did not appreciate in the relationship. You want to write them down. You want to write them down because the brain has a funny way of only bringing back the wonderful memories of a person when you've lost them. So if you want to let go of that person, write a list, keep looking at it just to remind yourself that this relationship was not working for me and it's okay to try to move on. If you want to hold on to someone, you're waiting for them to come back to you, then your list is to write down the things that you appreciate about that person. Or if you want your relationship to work with someone, write a list of things that you like about them, the things that you enjoy about them, and try to focus on that instead of trying to change things, trying to turn things around or make them into a different person. All right, let me get to your questions. I asked him to tell his dad about me. He agreed, but then shut down. It's been 4 months of this person shutting down. Is this okay? Is it normal? Now, is it okay? You get to decide what's okay for you and what's not okay for what you're not comfortable with. Is this normal? It depends on the person and the situation. Now, let's imagine that this is someone who needs his father's approval, and his father never made him feel like whatever decision he made was good enough. He might be scared to go to his dad and say, look, I've been dating this person. Now, let's take something else into consideration. If the relationship itself has been a little rocky, if this person is not really sure if we're the right person for them because there's so many things to work through in the relationship, then it's possible that they may not feel like introducing you to their dad is the right thing to do at this time. And because of the pressure, being afraid to lose you because they're not ready to tell their dad about you. They may choose to withdraw a little bit and shut down because they really don't know exactly what to do. A lot of times, and the anxious attached goes through this as well, where they're in the relationship, it's not really working out the way they want it to or the way they wish it would, but then they don't know what's the next move. They don't want to make a mistake. They don't want to call it quits on the relationship and what if in the future. So they're still hopeful. And an avoidant attached person goes through exactly the same things, feel exactly the same way as an anxious attached person does. They just respond differently. See, an anxious attached person will rush into the situation. So let's say, for example, an avoidant attached says to an anxious attached, I want you to introduce me to your parents. This is not working for me, and this is what I want. The anxious attached person will do whatever it takes to make their partner happy. They'll talk to the parents, whether they feel like they're ready for this relationship, whether the relationship is rocky and needs some working through. They will do the thing that makes their partner happy. Now, the avoidant attached person, they do what's necessary to protect themselves. A secure attached person will be able to say, I am not ready to share this information with my family members. There are things about the relationship that needs to be worked through, and I'm not going to introduce you into an important part of my life, my family. We don't want them to get attached to you and then this doesn't work out. So I need some more time to see where this is going before I bring you into my family and friends. And that's the way a secure attached person will handle it. And the reason they're able to do that is because they can put themselves first, but also be compassionate to the other person's feelings. And so in being compassionate, you're being honest, you're not pulling back. You're also not afraid that that person may leave you because you choose to do something that's best for you. So the difference between how a secure attached person handles it and an avoidant attached person handles it is that the avoidant attached person does not know how exactly to communicate because they're still afraid that they're going to lose you. So there are a number of reasons that, he may not be able to tell his dad about this right now. And generally, if they shut down, it's a feeling of safety. It's hardly ever they stop loving you. A lot of times people go through breakups, and a month after or 2 months after, I get a client asking, does this person even love me anymore? I don't think they care about me. I don't think they love me anymore. They just pulled away, so they must really want to check out. They just don't want this anymore. It's not how the human brain works. It is just not how the human brain works. We cannot just shut off someone who we've been in love with, who we've built memories with and a bond with. So in order for you to get a good grasp of this, as I needed to, because I had to go through this in my healing as well, you write things down. You can do the research. There's Google. That's a wonderful, wonderful tool that you could use to ask what are the positive benefits of writing things down, of journaling. You process it differently, and it's able to stick. You're able to shift your perspectives. So write. And really, at this point, there was a time when I would advocate for writing with a pen and a paper. Now, I really don't care. However you get it out of your mind and process it, it's all well and good. You want to meditate, you want to write it down on something electronic, do whatever you need to, but you are responsible for your healing. You are responsible. They cannot help you. They cannot fix you. Now, that brings me to a question I've got here from one of you. Can I help my avoidant ex? He still loves me and thinks about me. He's going to therapy. One of the things that kills relationships, kills them, is when we become the mommy and the daddy in the relationship. When we start acting like a parent, it takes away the attraction. When we meet this individual for the first time, we're composed, we're compassionate, but we're not jumping in to give advice and help. We're not giving them their vitamins. We're not rushing after them. Did you eat something? I was thinking about this yesterday. As I walked, I thought about, the way that, especially women, we would take out the clothes or buy the clothing that we think our partner should wear. And mind you, I'm guilty of this. I've done this in the past. And I thought about it. I do that for my son. My daughters are much older now, and I don't bother much, but I do that for my son. And I thought it is kind of ridiculous that I would think that it is my responsibility to dress a grown person, an aged person. And what I started to realize more and more I've been realizing is that we shift from the role of a partner, of a spouse, of a fun individual in their life, of someone they're attracted to becoming their caregiver, their mother, or their father. And in the father energy, I'm talking about energy, the father role is to jump in and solve the problem, to jump in and give their opinions, to jump in and tell the partner what they think they should do and shouldn't do. And when we do that, when we do the giving of opinions and advice, what we actually are saying to the other person is that you're not capable, or I don't trust you to be capable to take care of yourself. In other words, I'm saying, I don't respect you. I don't think you're strong enough. I don't think you could do this on your own. Right? Now with our children, we could say, okay, yeah, I'm grooming you to be ready to do these things for yourself as you get older. And so it's coming from a place of care and love and compassion and thoughtfulness, because we're grooming, we're readying our children to take charge of their lives in the world. Now we're now dating what we want to be an adult. A lot of people are coming to me and say, why can't they be an adult? Well, maybe because we're not allowing them to be. Maybe because we're treating them like children. So in this particular case, how can I help my avoidant ex? He still loves me and thinks about me. He's going to therapy. He has made a decision for himself to go to therapy. So he's doing the work. This is where you step back and focus on yourself. We need to trust our partners that they are capable of taking care of themselves. We don't have to rush in and help and fix anything for them, get their clothing, ask them if they've eaten. Yes, it doesn't mean that you can't be caring. It doesn't mean that you can't be caring, but you don't have to treat them like little children if you want to be with someone you call an adult. All right, does that make sense? Let me know in the comment section. Now, you may ask me, so what do I do in a case like this? Well, you focus on your own growth. Take responsibility for yourself. Bring the energy back to you. And a lot of times the reason that we are trying to help the other person, trying to fix the other person, is because we're afraid of losing them. We feel like if we can show up for them constantly to be that caregiver, then they're going to see our worth and they're not going to want to leave us. Or we may feel like if we're there to give advice, then what, maybe unconsciously we're doing this, of course, is that we are going to be, hold on, my brain froze. What we are doing by constantly and consistently being nurturing towards them, we're hoping that we could build such a strong bond that they become dependent on us and they wouldn't know how to survive without us. So it's always fear-based. Our actions in giving too much, in over-giving, in overcompensating, comes from a place of our fear. We're afraid that if we don't do enough or too much, or if we're not adequate, they are going to leave us. Okay? Let me know in the comment section if you've suffered from this, and I can share with you. this was my problem. As an anxious attached person, this was something that I had to heal from. Everything in my life, all my relationships started to change when I started to bring the energy towards me, when I focused more on me and I trusted the adults in their lives to do what was best for them. If they felt like they needed to work on themselves and show up in a relationship with me, all well and good. If they weren't ready for that, that's okay too. You can let go, right? How can I tell if I'm secure enough to break no contact with my ex? Now, this is going to be an add-on to what I just said. How can I tell if I'm secure enough to break no contact with my ex? When is the time? You'll know if you are secure enough to break no contact depending on a few things. This is never black and white. If that ex has asked you to not contact them, if you're secure enough, secure attached enough, or if you're feeling secure within yourself, then you'll be able to respect that and not reach out to them regardless of what reasons you may have for wanting to reach out. Respect will be the most important thing. Someone asks you not to do something, you don't do it. There is no other reason. If you are afraid that this person might be moving on, or you're afraid of anything, they may forget you, they don't want to be with you, they don't like you, they misinterpreted you, any fear-based reason for reaching out will say you're not secure enough to reach out as yet. When we are secure, we're not really afraid. Fear, we could look at fear. I mean, it's there. It's always going to be there. We're always going to be afraid, right? Fear is something that is necessary to a human being. Without fear, we're just going to walk across the street without looking left and right. So fear is necessary. But a secure, attached person will be aware that there is fear, but not act from it. They take their feelings into consideration as well as the other person. And they make a decision for themselves as well as the other person. They can hurt when a relationship ends, but they're also very sure that it did not end for a reason. It might be they're not on the same, compatibility isn't always important to relationships, but they may just feel like they're not in alignment with the other person, and that's all right. They don't take it personally, okay? So how do you know if you're not moving from fear? If it's a case where you both have taken some time off or you broke up and nobody talked about let's not contact each other or anything of the sort, and you feel like, you know what, I just want to know how this person's doing. It hasn't been a very long time since you broke up with them, so chances are they're not trying to move on with their lives. Chances are that they're not so much in a heal space that you're going to trigger their pain all over again. These are all things that we want to consider about the other person. I actually got a question the other day from someone who asked, why would I not reach out to an ex if I can now recognize that I've caused that person pain? Well, I don't know where they are in their lives, especially if it's been decades ago. I can trust that by now they would know I've made a mistake and be able to forgive me. Right? But it is, it's a prickly situation to reach out to someone to apologize for something that you've done. It may trigger old feelings of anger, pain for them, uncomfortable feelings for them. They may be in a new relationship. It may cause a disruption in their relationship. And even more importantly, you may be in a relationship, so you want to keep that separate. You want to take everyone into consideration. And when you're securely attached, you do that. It doesn't mean that you don't feel, remorse, guilt, compassion, all of the human emotions. It's just that you become very aware and conscious in making your decisions. I hope that helps. All right, how do I introduce attachment theory to my avoidant ex? A therapist told him to leave the relationship. Now, let's deal with the first part first. How to introduce attachment theory to my avoidant ex. The way we introduce attachment theory to an avoidant ex, and it's the only way that works. Now, this does not guarantee that they'll do anything. All right. Again, we're dealing with human beings with the right, the right to choose what they're going to do, if they're going to heal or not. We don't get. Let me back up. I believe that the moment we start to think that somebody else needs to do some work on themselves, and we voice that, what we're really saying is, I think I'm better. And it's okay. It's all right to think that you're better. That's all right. But it's kind of hurtful to let the other person feel they're not good enough. All right? So we allow people to heal and grow at their pace. Now, what I do know works in cases like this is when your partner sees that you're working on yourself, they may be inspired to work on themselves, but it might not be the areas that you are hoping for. So say, for example, someone sees that you're prioritizing, you're prioritizing your trauma healing. So you've gotten a ton of self-help books, you're taking a few courses, you started going to therapy. It may inspire them to grow, but not necessarily exactly in that way. What they may think is, oh, wait a second, I should probably do some stuff that I want to do too, so I'm going to start learning tennis. I might go back to school, to a business school. But what it does is it inspires the other person, in most cases, to grow. Now, on the flip side of that, what it can do is it may make that person feel inadequate. For whatever reason, they may not be able to work on themselves at that time. It might be an emotional reason, might be a financial reason, might be a physical reason. We don't know what a person struggles with, but they may not be able to do that work on themselves. And what happens when we keep, I'm going to say, flaunting how much effort we put into our emotional healing and the growth, and we hype ourselves up. And again, I am all for people who hype themselves up. I'm just sharing how it can affect a relationship with someone who's got an avoidant attachment style, right? So hype yourself up. It is important to be the prize and know you're the prize. However, sharing this in your relationship can make the other person, especially if they have an avoidant attachment style, feel inadequate. This is equivalent to, let's say you're trying to share your feelings with your avoidant attached partner, and they just don't get it, and you feel misunderstood, right? That feeling, that hurtful feeling of I'm not good enough, I'm not adequate, I'm being rejected, I'm not being chosen. That is how they can feel when they see you doing the work on yourself and you're talking about it constantly, and they're unable to do that. Let me know what your takeaway is from this. Now, the second part of the question is the therapist told him to leave the relationship. The general reason why a therapist will suggest to a patient to leave a relationship is it's because the therapist sees that the relationship is emotionally and perhaps physically affecting the patient. Their responsibility is to the patient. So if the patient is highly distressed about the relationship, the therapist will suggest giving this some space, because emotional stress causes a lot of health issues. So if this person is going to a therapist and the therapist suggests that, it's not that the therapist is out to get you. The therapist is just looking out for their patient's well-being. So it means that something was shared there, or maybe the reaction of that patient that indicates to the therapist that, you know what, this is not a healthy relationship right now. I want to share something personal that I've been seeing. I see in my practice. I see, messages I get, and I've lived. I've been this person. As an anxious attached person, I was a me person, but I didn't realize it. I didn't know it. I wasn't aware of it. what I had to learn was how to extract myself out of myself, see myself from a higher consciousness. So this is my, and you could do this exercise with me right now. You're sitting and you bring your consciousness alive. So my consciousness, we're just going to imagine my consciousness is here. And I'm now looking at myself. I'm looking at the way my fingers are moving and the way I'm going to touch this pearl. I'm looking at the way I'm sitting, my posture. I'm listening to my voice. I'm listening to the tone of my voice. And from this, I can imagine what another person is seeing when they're looking at me. I can imagine, and if you notice, the tone of my voice is softening because now I'm very aware of my voice and my tone. And now I have a better idea of what you're hearing or what the person in front of me is hearing, how my tone makes them feel. When I was able to do that, then I saw how my partner was feeling in the relationship. If I go to my partner and I say something like, "You're never there for me, I'm always the one showing up for you." Oh, that's scary, isn't it? That is scary, because now I could see if I was in that person's shoe, I'd be afraid. And what I'm getting is that a lot of times we don't realize this. We are in survival mode. We're just trying to get this person to love us. And we don't realize that our body language, the things we say, how we say it, can push that person away or pull them in. So it's very important that we're aware of ourselves. There are times when I would be getting one message after the other, and I am busy with a ton of things going on in my life. And then that person gets upset. "Oh, you're not responding to me, you're not consistent, you're not this, you're not that." Why would I want to engage with this person for a long period of time? Why? It's a person who does not pause to consider, first of all, pause to get their thoughts out clearly, right? And one text message if you have to. Share necessary information. A lot of times what I also get is a statement. Now, because I do what I do, I could read between the lines, but a lot of our partners, especially when we're in an emotional situation, we can't read between the lines. So it's better to be clear. This is how I feel, and this is my question. This is how I feel, and this is what would make me feel better. Be very, very clear. So, multiple messages, not being clear, being demanding, feeling like I'm entitled, you're supposed to do something for me. These are things that will push another person away. And again, this is not to say that, I'm perfect and you're not. I've been in this position. The reason that I do the work I do is because I know we could build better relationships if we can be aware of our actions, be aware of our feelings, learn to work on our own healing, and stop depending on someone else to make us happy. This is a lot of times the ego comes into play. I want you to do this for me, and if you don't do it for me, I will not be happy. And the other thing I've learned on my healing is that it did not matter. A person could tell me over and over and over and over that they loved me. It was not going to work. It would never be enough because I couldn't love myself. And why is it never enough? Because when they say, "I love you, I love you, I love you," after you've told them, I've sat with my partner, I said, "You know what? I'd like for you to tell me that you love me more. It makes me feel good." Then they start saying, "I love you, I love you, I love you." They say it every now and again. You start questioning yourself, are they really saying that they love me because they love me, or are they saying this because I asked them to tell me that they love me? So it's never going to be enough. And the avoidant attached partner knows that too well. They know that no matter what they do, they feel like it's never enough. There's always a need for more validation and more validation. So how do you heal when you're an anxious attached? Ask yourself, why is this so necessary? Why Why can't you take charge? Why is it you need your partner to say, I love you? Why can't I stand in front of the mirror and look at myself and say, you know what? I really love you, girl. I really love you, boy, or whatever pronoun you use. Why can't I say that to myself? Instead of waiting and being upset that your partner doesn't tell you look good, and that shirt looks great on you. Like, oh, I noticed you got a new shoe. Why can't you say that to yourself so that when you go out, you could look at yourself in the mirror before you leave and you say, you know what? You look so good. So when you get out there and someone says it, it catches you off guard because, oh, I know. You don't need it to be happy. You don't need someone else to make you happy. You have the power within you to do that. All right. I know, I just ran off there. Is it typical for an avoidant attached person to handle overwhelm by completely shutting down? It is typical for any human being to shut down with a lot of overwhelm. An anxious attached in an abusive relationship, after a while, they start getting really, really scared. They just don't, they get emotionally exhausted and they don't want to be around that partner. That is a way of shutting down. If an anxious attached person has got someone pursuing them and that person does not seem to appreciate boundaries, if that person's busy, if that person says, you know what, I can try to meet with you next week, and the avoidant, the anxious attached is being pursued by the avoidant attached person does not seem to respect that, is getting a little passive aggressive, is getting a little annoyed at it, the anxious attached will shut down. So yes, a secure attached person can also shut down with overwhelm. The reason that the anxious attached hardly feels that overwhelm is because they are in the energy of chasing. You're constantly running. You're running and running. So you've got enough adrenaline to keep going and going and going. If you stop and you allow people to come towards you, they start chasing you. They start hounding you down. It is not going to be a comfortable feeling. Now, a secure attached person will know how to communicate this. They will say, I'm not available. And if that person throws a tantrum for whatever reason, they'll know how to minimize contact with that person. They'll meet with the person if it continues, set the boundaries, and give them 1 or 2 chances, and then they will step away from the relationship. Okay? He felt I was too dependent. It was his trauma. I don't like being mislabeled. All right. I'm going to assume this was an avoidant attached person, or it is an avoidant attached person we're talking about. For an individual, we have to appreciate what works for that person. Okay? So if I'm saying someone is too dependent on me, I can say that. All right, I've got children. Let's use them as an example for a second here. Let's say I have a child who comes to me and talks to me about business ideas, asks for support, might be financial support, let's just use that. Financial support, then gets upset that I'm not showing up for them in the way that they want. And on top of that, they expect me to be their friend as well. Call me and gossip about what's going on in their lives, who's affecting them, and all of that. And then they're also looking for advice on other things. That's a lot of hats for me to wear. Can't believe I said that, but that's a lot of positions to put me in. Now, it may become too much for me because, remember, I have a life outside of this one individual. I have work. I've got clients. I've got friends. I've got hobbies. I've got my health. There are a number of other things a part of my life. Now, it is okay for me to reach out to my child and say, hey, I love you, mommy cares about you, but I cannot take on this much right now. I can appreciate that you need my advice and you need my support. Can you perhaps turn to another sibling, or can you perhaps turn to a friend? Can you perhaps get a therapist to talk to about the emotional stuff? So human beings can feel overwhelmed. What we have to do is look at our partner and see that person as a human being. The label, and I've talked about this before, we put a label on someone and then there's an expectation that suddenly this person is a kind of superhero. The mother is expected to drop everything and do absolutely everything for their children. And a lot of times, a lot of mothers do that. They neglect themselves and become a shell of themselves because their whole life's purpose, they believed, was to only serve the child. And if they're happy with that, all good and well. But every individual is different. We have to stop expecting ourselves or stop expecting our partners to be our advisors, our supporters, our best friend, our therapist, our confidant, our inspiration, our hairdresser, our fashion designer. We have to, if we choose to be with someone, we like that person, we like being with them, we have to choose. We've got to look at what this person is capable of giving us and accepting that that's all we're going to go to them to receive. And should they be able to give us more in the future, all well and good, we can be grateful for it. So, if he said that he felt like you were too dependent, it's just him saying, I couldn't carry the burden. I couldn't carry the load. It was too much for me to carry. It's not that you were mislabeled. It's that he was talking about how he felt. And that is another thing that we need to be careful of. When someone tells us how we feel, stop yourself from interpreting it from your trauma. He said he felt you were too dependent. You needed too much from him. I couldn't give it to you. It doesn't mean that you were mislabeled. It's how he felt. All right. Looks like I'm out of time. And I will be answering the other questions on the content, on the carousels that we do here. You can also find the answers to your questions on the website. The website is annalisabahadur.com. There's also the podcast, Decoding Attachment Styles, and that goes up twice every week. If you haven't subscribed as yet, it's a great idea to subscribe so that when a new podcast or a new episode comes out, you'll be the first to know. Just before I run off, let me just run through the questions that you might have asked here and see if I could quickly respond to one of them. There are a lot of you who said hi and hello, hi and hello. Okay. What is concise response to provide to someone when they ask what happened with being discarded by a dismissive avoidant? What is a response to give to someone when they ask what happened? Okay, so an avoidant, dismissive avoidant. A dismissive avoidant, I'm going to have to keep saying this over and over because not everyone's going to catch this live, right? There's a big difference between a dismissive avoidant and a fearful avoidant. A lot of you think that a fearful avoidant is a dismissive avoidant. A lot of times I get a question about a dismissive avoidant. My dismissive avoidant asked me this. My dismissive avoidant told me this is how they felt. My dismissive avoidant told me this is how they want things to be. That is not a dismissive avoidant. They will not share their feelings. Generally speaking, majority of the times, they will not share feelings or thoughts. They will not ask questions. These are people who generally believe that they don't need a relationship. These are the people that you will find might have been in one or two relationships and then they resign to being alone, especially if they have children. A fearful avoidant is someone who will share their feelings or their thoughts or ask a question like, what happened? That's not a dismissive avoidant. That's a fearful avoidant. Will ask, what happened? How do you respond to that? You say, it just wasn't working for me. That's it. That encapsulates the entire thing. You don't have to get into details. It just wasn't working for me. That tells the other person it's not a you thing, it's a me thing. That tells the other person I wasn't happy. That tells the other person I was not feeling valued. I was not getting the emotional support I believed I needed. Right? It just wasn't working for me. One sentence. Another thing that we can start practicing to do, those of us who have an anxious attachment style, short sentences, just about 2 or 3 sentences. It's going to take effort, but that's what healing's about, right? It's work. It's like going to the gym for the first time. It's going to be tough, and slowly you'll start seeing results, but you have to be consistent. How did I cope with giving my partner space, or how does a person cope with giving their partner space? All right, I've gone through breakups. How did I cope? I'm going to share my story. I got busy with my life. I write. I'm a writer. I love playing musical instruments, so I play the guitar. I'm learning to play the piano as well. And I love learning languages, so that's always been a thing for me. So what I would do is just get more involved in the things that I love, pick up hobbies that I always wanted to try, and I do that. Set aside more time for the friends that I like hanging out with. Learn to do things that I'm afraid of. Take my first trip alone somewhere. As an anxious attached, someone with that anxious attachment style, healing through that anxious attachment while going through a breakup, it meant sitting a lot alone in that pain. Every time I wanted to reach out to him, I just sat there with that discomfort. And, I'd time myself. I'd say, okay, let's see what happens in a minute from now. Let's see what happens in 2 minutes. Let's give this another minute. And then I got up and moved. Movement is one way of healing. You get different perspectives. There's a release of endorphins, adrenaline, dopamine when we exercise. And I think giving my partner space. Okay, I'm just recapturing the question. I knew we were going to get back together. So I told myself that I wasn't happy with the version I was in the relationship at the time. And the version of him, with who I was and who he was, there seemed to be discomforts in the relationship, things that we were trying to work through but couldn't quite get a grasp of it. So I used the time that we were apart as a time for my healing. And I trusted that during the time apart, he was also going to work through his healing. And his healing might look like building up the courage to face that vulnerable act of reaching out to me. My healing was to build up that courage to not reach out, to sit in one place, to teach myself, to show myself that I am the prize, that I deserve to be loved, that someone should be coming towards me if they see my value and my worth, and I don't have to chase. That was my healing work. And I also had to accept that it was okay if they were not in a place to see me as someone valuable in their lives, and maybe I wasn't, and that's all right. I am not for everyone, and you're not going to be for everyone. I will be 45 soon, and one of the things that I'm so incredibly grateful for is that at this age, I can get these lessons instead of waiting until I'm in my 60s or 70s or 80s. And in order for me to have gotten all of the lessons that I have now, and God knows I can't wait to see what the future is going to unfold, but for me to get the lessons right now, it meant spending a lot of time with myself. I coach myself. I do have a therapist, but I also give myself therapy. Everything that I teach, I do it for myself. I've learned to realize that this individual is not attached to anything or anyone out there. Yes, I have my children, but I don't own them. It is my responsibility to make sure that they're ready to take on the world, just like I had to ready myself to take on the world. I try to teach them that they are responsible for their own happiness. Don't put that burden on somebody else. Learn to love yourself. Learn to appreciate who you are. Be proud of yourself, so that if someone says something negative to you, you're not bothered by it. You know it for yourself. Learn not to compete with others. Compete with yourself. You are a perfect being. You cannot be anyone else, and you shouldn't want to be someone else. Yes, you could look at other people's and people and aspire to be parts of them. You know, like, I don't know. I remember when I wasn't published as yet, I would look at others and there was a bit of jealousy. And I thought, why am I jealous? I'm still 35. I've got time to do this. So you turn jealousy into something you'd like to achieve. That's what jealousy is, right? Something that you want that you haven't yet achieved. And you work towards it. You work towards your growth. But try to remain still and within yourself. It doesn't mean that you're going to be selfish. That's very different. Learn to love yourself. Be still within yourself. Don't be dependent on others to make you feel loved and fulfilled and valued and special. You are special. You're incredibly special. There is no one on this entire planet like you. So take that, own it, and in that you could know you are the prize. So that's how I gave him space. Oh, and did he come back? Did we get back together? Yep. All right, let me just see if I could get one more question. So lucky that this avoidant ex is taking active steps in therapy. Great advice to let him do the work and support by focusing on self-growth. Great. This is, yeah, it might be new for a lot of people here. Many with an avoidant attachment style are working on themselves. Many are in therapy. Many have gone to therapy as children. Many have been in and out of therapy. More than the anxious attached that I've seen so far. The anxious attached generally will get the self-help books. Yes, they want to get into therapy, but they put up a good argument with their therapist instead of reflecting and taking responsibility. It's different with the avoidant attached. An avoidant attached will not do as much pushback. They're quiet. They listen. They reflect. They take accountability. The only difference with them is that it's hard to change, right? But a lot of them, and I find, especially in my practice, more so are in therapy, are doing the work. You just don't hear about it. Their fear of vulnerability prevents them from jumping on social media and talking about it. Their fear of vulnerability stops them from telling their partner about it or sharing with anyone. These are not people who share a lot about what they're doing. So a lot of times you don't know that they're going to therapy, but they are. They're working really, really hard on themselves. And I see that a lot. I've done hundreds, thousands even, of consultations, clients that I have who, have avoidant attachment style just as they have an anxious attachment style. Okay. I'm always shocked at how my boyfriend gets very close to me and suddenly pulls away. That is not a reflection of you or the relationship. In fact, it tells how much they like you, right? Because what happens is they're having a great time with you, and then they start to feel overwhelmed, or they might start to feel like, oh my gosh, I'm not sure. What if this person leaves me? I'm so scared. I really like them, so they start pulling away. And another reason, more so if you've been in a long-term relationship with this person, they feel comfortable. They've already built a relationship with you, built a bond with you, and they believe that you can also appreciate that they have a life that is separate from the life they have with you. You see, we want to have a partner who is a part of our life, not a partner who consumes our lives. We want a person who is a part of our life. You've got your partner, you've got your friends, you've got your children, you've got your colleagues, you've got your mentors, your parents, your siblings. Your partner is also there. It's a part of that group. It's a part of your group. It is not your partner who should be the whole of your life. Everything revolves around your partner. I'm going to cancel meeting with my friends because my partner wants to be with me. I'm going to cancel being with my mentor because my partner wants to be with me. You want to appreciate each and every relationship in your life so that you're not pressuring any of them. Imagine if you kept going to a mentor the same way you would with a partner. The mentor may quit on you, right? It's a human thing. We want to be a part of someone's life, not all of it. All right, with that, I will take my leave and I will see you next Wednesday. Remember, send your questions in. The website is where you're going to have all of the answers to these questions. Sign up for the newsletter. You could look at our story. I think today we should be posting the link to the newsletter, which will alert you to all of the new stuff that keeps happening. We are constantly working on making this better for you. Thank you again for your support and for giving me the space to do something I truly, truly love. I'll see you guys next time.